Jack had always been an ordinary man. He lived in a small town at the edge of a forest, far from the busy life of the city. He worked a simple job at a local cafe and spent his free time hiking in the nearby woods. It was a peaceful life, one that Jack had always enjoyed. The fresh air, the quiet, and the endless green of the forest made him feel calm and free. Little did he know that today would change everything. It all started when Jack decided to take a new trail he hadn't explored before. He had heard rumors about strange sights and sounds in this part of the forest, but he had never taken them seriously. That morning, as the sun started to rise, Jack packed a small bag with water and snacks and set off for his hike. The forest felt different today. The trees were taller, their leaves rustling in a way that felt almost alive. As Jack walked deeper into the woods, he noticed a strange warmth in the air. The sunlight shone through the trees in beams, lighting up patches of the forest floor. It felt peaceful but also strange, as if something was waiting for him. He paused, looking around, trying to figure out what it was. And that's when he saw her, standing in a clearing ahead. There was a figure, a girl. She wasn't like anyone Jack had ever seen before. Her skin was a soft, glowing shade of blue, like the ocean at sunset. Her hair was long, flowing like silver waves, and her eyes shimmered with an otherworldly light. Jack froze, unable to move. He had heard stories about aliens, but he never thought they could be real. And yet, here she was, standing before him. The alien girl noticed him immediately. She didn't seem scared or surprised. Instead, her face softened and she smiled at him. Jack felt a strange warmth in his chest. There was something about her presence that made him feel safe, as if he had known her his whole life. "Please," she said softly, her voice gentle and calming. "Human, be one with me." Jack blinked, not sure if he had heard her right. "What?" he asked, his voice shaking slightly. "Who are you?" "I am Lara," she answered, stepping closer. "I come from a distant world, far beyond your stars. I have come to find you." Jack didn't know what to say. His heart raced and his mind struggled to understand what was happening. Was this some kind of dream? Was he imagining all of this? But no, this felt real. The warmth of the sunlight on his skin, the soft breeze, and the peacefulness of the forest, it was all real. But this girl, this alien was not. Lyra's eyes softened as she took another step closer. "I have traveled across the universe to meet you, Jack," she said. "I have watched your people for a long time, and I believe you are the one I've been waiting for." Jack didn't know how to respond. He could only stare at her, feeling both nervous and amazed. "But why me?" he asked. Lyra smiled, a gentle, knowing smile. "Because you, human, have something special inside you. Your kind, though young in the ways of the universe, have a power, a potential, that none of the other races have. I can help you unlock it, help you understand your true strength." Jack shook his head, trying to make sense of what she was saying. "I don't understand. What do you mean, unlock it?" Lyra's gaze grew serious. "The connection between us can help you become something greater. You and I can join together, merge our beings. Through this bond, you will see the universe in ways you've never imagined. Together, we can reach beyond the stars." Jack took a step back, feeling overwhelmed. He had always thought of himself as just a regular guy. He didn't feel special. He was nothing like the heroes in the stories, the ones who saved the world or traveled to distant galaxies. He was just Jack. "I can't," he said, shaking his head. "I don't know what you're asking. This is too much." Lyra looked at him with understanding, but there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. "I understand your fear, Jack. But I'm not asking you to change who you are. I am asking you to embrace the potential that is already within you. We can learn from each other, grow together, and help both our worlds." Jack felt a mix of emotions: fear, confusion, curiosity, and something else. There was something in her words, in her presence, that made him want to believe her. He couldn't explain it, but deep down, he knew that this moment was important. It was like the world around him had shifted, and now there was no going back. "I don't know if I'm ready for this," Jack whispered, looking down at his feet. "I don't even understand what you mean by being one." Lyra stepped closer, placing a hand on his arm. You will understand, Jack, in time. You don't need to decide right now, but when you're ready, I'll be here. Jack looked up at her, and for the first time, he saw not just an alien girl, but someone who was offering him something beyond his wildest dreams. The choice was his. And no matter what he decided, this moment would change him forever. Over the next few days, Jack couldn't stop thinking about Lyra. Her words echoed in his mind. Please, human, be one with me. What did it mean? He didn't have the answers, but he couldn't shake the feeling that their meeting had been more than just a random encounter. There was something deep inside him that told him this was important. He went back to the same forest clearing where he had met her. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the trees. Jack had hoped he would find some kind of answer there, but the clearing was empty. He felt a bit foolish for thinking she might just show up, but then he heard her voice. Jack! She called softly from behind him. He turned around quickly and saw Lyra standing a few feet away, her soft, glowing skin shining in the fading light. Her presence was calming, and Jack felt the same strange warmth he had felt when they first met. I knew you would come back, Lyra said with a gentle smile. You are searching for answers, aren't you? Jack nodded slowly. I don't understand. What do you mean by being one with you? I'm just a regular guy. Why me? Lyra stepped forward, her eyes filled with understanding. You are special, Jack. All humans are. You see the world with a unique perspective. Your emotions, your thoughts, they are more powerful than you know. But your kind is still learning to unlock that power. I can help you reach that potential. Together we can form a bond, a connection that will unlock the greatness inside you. Jack felt a mix of excitement and doubt. Part of him wanted to believe her. He could sense that Lyra wasn't lying. There was a truth in her words that felt right, but the other part of him was still afraid. Was it possible for someone like him to truly unlock the kind of power Lyra was talking about? I don't know, Jack said, running a hand through his hair. This is all so strange. I've never thought of myself as special. I'm just Jack. Lyra smiled again, her eyes filled with warmth. That's the thing, Jack. You don't need to be anything other than who you are. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about understanding the power that's already inside you. Jack took a deep breath. He wanted to understand, but the idea of changing who he was, even for something better, felt overwhelming. But how will this bond work? How will it change me? Lyra seemed to hesitate for a moment before answering. The bond is not just physical, Jack. It's mental and emotional as well. When we join together, we will connect on a deeper level. We will share our thoughts, our feelings, and our strengths. It will allow us to grow, not only as individuals, but as partners. You will see things differently. You will feel more than you ever have before. Jack's mind raced with questions. It all sounded so unreal. How could something like this work? And yet, the more he looked into Lyra's eyes, the more he felt like he needed to try. He couldn't explain why, but the pull between them was undeniable. And what happens if I don't do this? Jack asked, his voice quieter now. Lyra's expression softened. If you choose not to bond, nothing will change for you. You will continue to live your life, and you may never know the true potential you possess. But I can't promise what will happen to Earth. The galaxy is vast, and there are forces out there that will try to control your world and your people. The bond will protect both of us, Earth and my people. Together we can become something stronger than any of us alone. Jack thought about her words. The weight of the decision was heavy on his heart. Was he really ready to take such a huge step? Could he change so much, so quickly? Lyra stepped closer, sensing his hesitation. You do not have to decide immediately. I will give you time to understand. But when you are ready, I will be here. I will not force you, Jack. This is your choice. Jack felt a flood of emotions. Part of him wanted to say yes, to join with her and see what this bond could really offer. But another part of him wasn't sure if he could ever truly be ready for something like this. What if he lost himself in the process? What if he couldn't return to his normal life? As he stood there, uncertain, Lyra reached out and gently placed a hand on his arm. The warmth from her touch spread through him, and for the first time in days, Jack felt calm. She was offering him something powerful, something that could change everything. And yet, the choice had to be his. "I will think about it," Jack said finally, his voice firm. Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with understanding. "Take all the time you need, Jack. The bond will always be there, waiting for you." She turned and began to walk away, her figure glowing softly in the twilight. Jack stood in the clearing, watching her go, his mind racing with thoughts. He had never felt more torn in his life. He knew that whatever decision he made, it would change him forever, but for now, all he could do was think and wait. Jack spent the next few days in a whirlwind of thoughts. He couldn't stop thinking about Lyra and what she had said. Her offer echoed in his mind every time he closed his eyes. "Please, human, be one with me." He had always been the type to take his time with decisions, to think things through, but this was different. This wasn't just a simple choice about what to have for dinner or whether to take the scenic route home. This was something that could change everything. He couldn't deny that there was something about Lyra. She wasn't like anyone he had ever met. She wasn't just another stranger. There was a depth in her eyes, a quiet wisdom that made him feel like he was standing on the edge of something bigger than himself. When she spoke, her voice felt soothing, yet there was an undeniable power in it, as if she was offering him a glimpse of a life he never even knew was possible. Jack tried to return to his normal routine, but it wasn't the same. His job at the cafe seemed dull compared to the possibility of what Lyra had offered. He felt restless, like a piece of him was missing. Every time he went to the forest, he hoped to find her again, but she didn't appear. Jack knew she wasn't going to chase him. He would have to make the decision himself. The choice was his, and only his. He tried to talk to his friends about it, but he didn't know how to explain. How could he tell them that he had met an alien, someone from another world, who wanted to connect with him in a way he couldn't fully understand? They would never believe him. In a way, he felt completely alone in his confusion. He couldn't talk to anyone about what was happening, and that made the weight of the decision even heavier. One evening, Jack went back to the forest clearing. The sun was just starting to set, casting a warm, golden light over everything. He sat on a fallen log, his mind racing. He thought about his life, about his family, his friends, the simple pleasures he had always enjoyed. Could he really give all of that up to join with an alien girl? What would happen to him? To Earth? Would he even be the same person anymore? The sound of leaves crunching behind him pulled him out of his thoughts. Jack turned to see Lyra standing there, as graceful as ever. Her presence was like a calm breeze, soothing his troubled mind. She smiled, and Jack felt his heart skip a beat. "I knew you would come," Lyra said softly. "I've been waiting." Jack stood up, his hands shaking slightly. I don't know if I can do this, Lyra. It's so much. I don't understand what it would mean for me. What if I lose myself in this bond?" Lyra stepped closer, her expression understanding but firm. "I told you, Jack, you will not lose yourself. You will only become more than you are now. The bond isn't about changing who you are. It's about unlocking the part of you that you don't yet know exists. It will help you see the world in a new way. It will make you stronger, wiser." Jack looked down at his hands, unsure. "But what if I don't want to change? I'm happy with who I am. I've lived my whole life this way. What if I don't like what I become after this?" Lyra's gaze softened, and she placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You won't become someone else, Jack. You will become the best version of yourself. The bond will not erase who you are. It will just allow you to see your true potential, the strength and power inside you that you've never tapped into. You will not be alone in this. I will be with you every step of the way." Jack felt the weight of her words. He wanted to believe her. There was something in her eyes, something in the way she spoke, that made him feel like he could trust her. But doubt lingered in the back of his mind. What if it was too much? What if it wasn't as simple as she said? "You keep saying I will be stronger," Jack said, his voice quiet. "But I don't feel like I need to be stronger. I'm just me. I don't want to lose that." Lyra gave him a small, reassuring smile. You won't lose yourself, Jack. You will only find more of who you are. This bond is about connection, not control. You are not being forced into something. You are being offered a chance to grow. It's not about giving up who you are, it's about embracing what you are meant to be. Jack felt a sudden calmness wash over him. He had spent so much time thinking about what he would lose if he made this decision, but Lyra was right. Maybe. The real question wasn't about what he would lose, it was about what he would gain. Could he really unlock the power within himself? Could he truly grow into something more? I don't know what will happen, Jack said slowly, but I think I'm ready to try. Lyra's face brightened and her eyes sparkled with approval. You are ready, Jack. I knew you would be. She reached out and took his hand. The moment their hands touched, Jack felt something inside him stir, something powerful and unknown. It wasn't fear, though. It was a feeling of peace, of connection. Like he was where he was supposed to be. Are you ready, Jack? Lyra asked softly. Jack took a deep breath, his heart racing with anticipation. Yes, I'm ready. With that, Lyra closed her eyes and Jack followed her lead. Together they stood in the clearing, their connection beginning to grow. The days that followed were unlike anything Jack had ever experienced. The bond with Lyra had begun, but it was nothing like he had imagined. It wasn't overwhelming or strange as he had feared. Instead, it felt like a deep sense of peace settled within him, as if the weight of the world had been lifted, and all the doubts that had once clouded his mind slowly disappeared. Lyra had kept her promise. She didn't push him into anything he wasn't ready for. Instead, they spent time together, learning from each other. Jack began to notice small changes. His thoughts were clearer, his senses sharper. When he looked at the world around him, everything felt more vivid. The green of the trees, the blue of the sky, the scent of the air, it all seemed brighter, more alive. It was as if he was seeing the world for the first time, but despite the calmness he felt, Jack couldn't shake the worry in the back of his mind. What would happen if the Galactic Council found out about the bond? Lyra had told him about them, the powerful beings who ruled over countless planets, keeping order in the galaxy. She had warned him that they wouldn't approve of her choice to form a connection with a human. The Council believed that humans weren't ready for such an intimate bond. They were too unpredictable, too wild, and that made them dangerous in the eyes of the Council. One evening, while Jack and Lyra were walking through the forest, they heard something that made them both freeze. A ship, unlike any Jack had ever seen, hovered above the treetops. It was sleek and dark, with a strange metallic shine. The air seemed to hum with energy as the ship descended, its engines making a low, almost melodic sound. Jack's heart raced. He had seen ships before, military ones or those used for transport, but this one felt different. There was a cold, intimidating presence about it. This is it, Lyra whispered, her eyes narrowing as she looked at the ship. The Council has come, Jack's stomach dropped. He had hoped this day wouldn't come, but he had known deep down that it was inevitable. The Council was always watching. They didn't trust anything that didn't fit into their idea of control and order. And now, Lyra's bond with a human was threatening that order. As the ship landed, the air around them grew tense. A figure stepped out. He was tall, dressed in dark armor, with a helmet that covered most of his face. The only thing visible were his piercing, cold eyes. He stood there for a moment, looking down at them both. Jack could feel the weight of his gaze, like he was being judged. You are Lyra, the figure said, his voice low and emotionless. And you, he turned his eyes toward Jack, are the human she has chosen to bond with. Jack stood frozen. He didn't know what to say. He had no idea what the Council's emissary wanted from them. He glanced at Lyra, who remained calm beside him, her expression unreadable. She was prepared for this moment, but Jack wasn't. The emissary took a step forward, his voice growing colder. The Council has spoken. Your actions are a direct violation of the laws of the galaxy. No species, especially one as volatile as humans, should be allowed to form such bonds. You have endangered the peace we've worked so hard to build. The human will be separated from you, Lyra. The bond will be broken. Jack's heart raced. What? he asked, his voice shaking. You can't do that. We're not doing anything wrong. The emissary didn't seem to care about Jack's protest. You don't understand, human, he said, his eyes hard. You have no place in this. The council has decided. It's too dangerous for your kind to be involved in this kind of connection. You will be taken back to Earth, and Lyra will face the consequences of her actions. Lyra stepped forward, her posture firm, but there was a sadness in her eyes. You don't understand, she said softly. This bond is not just about me. It's about something bigger than either of us. The council doesn't see what we've created. They don't see the potential for peace, for growth, for connection. The emissary's eyes narrowed. You are naive, Lyra. The council has seen the consequences of such bonds before. We will not allow this to happen again. Jack felt his heart sink. He couldn't believe what was happening. He never imagined that a simple connection with Lyra could cause this much trouble. He turned to Lyra, trying to find the words to speak, but she silenced him with a look. Jack, she said, her voice calm but filled with resolve, I will not allow them to take you from me. The bond is stronger than they know. The emissary took a step forward, his hand reaching for a device at his side. Jack's fear began to rise. He wasn't sure what would happen if the council decided to take action. Would they force him to break the bond with Lyra? Would he lose everything he had started to feel? But before the emissary could move, a sudden blast of energy shot out from the forest, striking the ship. The ship shook, and a loud, echoing noise filled the air. Jack and Lyra both turned, and for a moment it looked like the ship was under attack. Get inside! The emissary shouted, his voice full of panic. As the ship's doors closed, Jack felt a sense of hope rise within him. Maybe there was still a chance. But the emissary's warning still lingered in his mind. The council would not stop. This was just the beginning. Lyra took Jack's hand, her grip strong. We must be ready, she said softly. This is only the first battle. Jack nodded, his heart still racing, but a new sense of determination was building inside him. He wasn't going to let anyone tear apart what he had with Lyra, not now. Not ever. The days after the council's emissary had left were filled with uncertainty. Jack and Lyra stayed in the forest, hidden away from the world, unsure of what would come next. The attack on the council's ship had been unexpected, and though they had managed to escape, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. Lyra had been calm throughout everything, her presence grounding Jack, but even she couldn't hide the worry in her eyes. The council was powerful, and their reach extended across many worlds. Jack knew they couldn't run forever. They would come after them. He could feel it in the air, a tension he had never known before. The bond between him and Lyra had grown. Stronger, though, there was no denying that. The connection they shared went deeper than anything Jack had ever imagined. He could feel her emotions as if they were his own, and she could feel his. Their thoughts often blended together, creating a shared understanding that made them more than just two individuals. It was like they were one, connected in ways that were beyond explanation. One morning, as the sun began to rise, Jack and Lyra sat in the clearing where they had first met. The sky was painted with hues of pink and orange, the forest around them peaceful and still. But the calmness of the morning didn't match the storm brewing in Jack's heart. I keep thinking about what the emissary said, Jack confessed, his voice filled with doubt. The council, they won't stop until they get what they want. I don't know if I'm ready for this, Lyra. What if I'm not strong enough to fight them? Lyra turned to him, her eyes soft and full of understanding. You are stronger than you think, Jack. We are stronger together. The bond we share is not just a connection between you and me. It is a bond that will unite us, all humans, aliens, the galaxy itself. The council doesn't understand what we've created. They fear it because they cannot control it. But together, we can show them that this connection is not a threat. It is a chance for something better. Jack nodded, but the fear in his chest didn't go away. He wasn't sure how they could fight the council. They were powerful, and their reach was vast. What could two beings, one human and one alien, do against an entire galaxy's worth of power? We can't hide forever, Jack said quietly, looking at the ground. They'll find us, no matter where we go. Lyra placed her hand on his, offering him a sense of peace. We don't have to hide, Jack. The time has come for us to stand together, to show the galaxy that humans are capable of greatness. You have the power inside you, more than you realize. I believe in you, and I believe in us. Jack looked into her eyes, and for the first time in a long while he felt a sense of purpose. Lyra was right. The bond they shared was not something to fear, it was something to embrace. Together they were stronger than they could ever be apart. But that strength didn't just come from the connection between them, it came from within. From his own heart, his own will to protect those he loved. What do we do now? Jack asked, his voice steady, though the weight of what lay ahead still hung heavy. Lyra smiled. Now we prepare. We can't fight the Council directly, not yet. But we can build allies, find others who believe in the same vision. This bond between us is just the beginning. There are others out there, in the galaxy, who want peace, who want unity. We will find them. Together we will create a new future. Jack stood up, feeling a surge of energy rush through him. The fear that had gripped him for so long began to fade, replaced by a sense of determination. This wasn't just about him and Lyra anymore. This was about something bigger, about humanity's place in the galaxy and the future they could create. Let's do it, Jack said, his voice firm. Let's fight for this. Let's show them what we're capable of. Lyra stood beside him, her hand still in his, her eyes shining with pride. Together, she said softly, we are unstoppable. They spent the next few days preparing, gathering supplies, and planning their next move. Jack learned more about Lyra's people and their history, about the galaxy they had come from and the battles they had fought. Lyra's people had once been divided, torn apart by conflict and war. But through bonds like the one she shared with Jack, they had found peace, unity, and strength. Jack could see how important their mission was. Not just for them, but for the future of the entire galaxy. They traveled to different planets, seeking out potential allies, other species who were tired of the Council's control and wanted a different future. Some were hesitant, unsure of what a connection with humans would mean. Others were eager to join their cause, knowing that they couldn't remain under the Council's rule forever. As the days passed, Jack began to feel a shift in himself. He wasn't just the man who had stumbled into the forest and met an alien girl. He was part of something much bigger, now a movement that could change the future of the galaxy. And with Lyra by his side, he knew that no matter how difficult the fight ahead would be, they would face it together. The Council's emissary had warned them. They had said they would come for them. But Jack wasn't afraid anymore. He had found his strength, and with Lyra, he was ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would fight for a future where humans and all species could live in peace. Weeks had passed since Jack and Lyra began their mission. The galaxy was vast, and finding allies was not an easy task, but they were making progress. They had visited several planets, speaking to various species, explaining their vision of unity and peace. Some listened, intrigued by the idea of bonds between species. Others remained skeptical, unwilling to risk their way of life, but Jack and Lyra never gave up. They believed in what they were doing, and slowly, they began to build a network of supporters. Each day brought new challenges. They had to navigate through treacherous spaces, avoid the watchful eyes of the Galactic Council, and deal with the fear and mistrust that some species had toward humans. But Jack didn't mind. With Lyra by his side, he felt stronger than ever before. The bond they shared was not just about connection, it was about trust, and the more time they spent together, the more Jack realized how much he had changed. He no longer saw himself as just an ordinary man. He was part of something greater, part of a movement that could change the future. And while the responsibility weighed heavily on his shoulders, he knew he wasn't alone. Lyra's strength, wisdom, and unwavering belief in their mission kept him going. One evening, as they prepared to leave a small planet where they had successfully recruited a few new allies, they were ambushed. Jack and Lyra had grown accustomed to being hunted by the council's agents, but they had always managed to stay one step ahead. This time, however, it was different. The ambush was swift, and before they knew it, they were surrounded by armed soldiers, their weapons aimed at them from all sides. Jack's heart raced as he looked around. He knew they couldn't fight their way out of this. They had always been outnumbered, but now they were trapped. Lyra stood beside him, her posture calm, her eyes scanning the surroundings. Jack could feel the tension in the air, but there was no fear in Lyra's expression. She was ready for whatever came next, but Jack wasn't sure he was. A voice echoed from behind them. "Lyra," it called, cold and commanding, "you cannot escape this. The council has spoken. You and the human will come with us. Now." Jack turned, his eyes locking on the figure that stepped forward. It was the same emissary who had come to Earth all those weeks ago. His armor gleamed under the planet's twin suns, and his eyes, once filled with cold judgment, now held a hint of something more, a sense of victory. The council had caught them. "I told you," the emissary said, his voice low and firm. "Your bond with the human was a mistake. You have endangered everything we've worked to build, but it's not too late to correct it. Come with me. The council will decide your fate." Jack stepped forward, his fists clenched. He wasn't going to stand by and let them take Lyra away. He wasn't going to let the council break what they had built together. "No," Jack said, his voice steady but filled with defiance. "We won't go with Y. Oh, we're not just some experiment to be controlled." Lyra looked at him, her eyes soft but filled with pride. She placed a hand on his arm, her touch calming him. "Jack," she said quietly, "this isn't just about us. This is about the future of all species. We can't let fear stop us now." Jack looked at her, his heart swelling with emotion. She was right. They couldn't back down now, not when they had come so far. The emissary's presence, the weapons aimed at them, they were all just part of the council's attempt to control and suppress. But Jack wasn't afraid anymore. He had the strength to fight, not with weapons, but with what he and Lyra shared, a bond that went deeper than anything the council could ever understand. The emissary narrowed his eyes. "You're making a mistake. You can't win this fight. The council will never accept your connection. It will tear everything apart." Lyra stepped forward, her voice calm but full of conviction. "The council doesn't understand the power of unity. They fear what they cannot control. But we are not afraid. Our bond is not something to be feared, it is the future." The emissary didn't move. He was waiting, studying them, trying to figure out their next move. But Jack could feel something inside him shift. The bond with Lyra was stronger than ever before, and now it was more than just a connection. It was a force that could change everything. He wasn't alone in this. They had allies, and they were ready to fight. Jack took a deep breath and looked around. The soldiers were still watching them, but their expressions had changed. They weren't as certain anymore. There was doubt in their eyes, and that doubt was growing. They could sense the power of the bond between Jack and Lyra. The emissary stepped back, a look of frustration crossing his face. "This isn't over," he warned. "The council will come for you again. And next time, there will be no escape." With that, he motioned for his soldiers to retreat, and they began to slowly back away, keeping their weapons trained on Jack and Lyra. As the last soldier disappeared into the shadows, Jack let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. "We did it?" Jack whispered, his voice filled with disbelief. "We're still free." Lyra turned to him, a smile on her face. "We're not just free, Jack. We're stronger than ever." Jack felt a surge of hope fill him. They had won this battle, but he knew the war was far from over. The council would come for them again, and next time they might not be so lucky. But he also knew one thing for sure. With Lyra by his side, they were ready for whatever came next. Together, they would fight for the future of all species, and nothing would stand in their way. The battle with the council was far from over. Jack and Lyra knew this, but they also knew something else. They were no longer just running from danger. They were standing up for a cause, and that gave them strength. The bond they shared was more than just a connection between two people. It was a symbol of what the future could be, a future where unity, trust, and cooperation between all species were possible. After the ambush, Jack and Lyra had gone into hiding, regrouping with the allies they had gathered. There were other species, other worlds who shared their vision of a united galaxy. These allies were ready to fight alongside them, but the Council was still a powerful enemy, and their forces were vast. The days that followed were tense, filled with preparations and planning. Jack and Lyra worked together, strategizing their next move. They knew that they had to be careful. The Council's spies were everywhere, watching for any sign of rebellion. But the more they learned about their enemies, the more Jack realized that the Council's power wasn't as unshakable as it seemed. They relied on fear and control to keep the galaxy in line, but Jack and Lyra had something the Council didn't hope, and the belief that the universe could be a better place. One evening, as they sat in their hidden base, surrounded by their allies, Lyra turned to Jack. Her eyes were steady, filled with a quiet determination. "We've gathered as much support as we can," Lyra said. "But it's time to take the next step. We need to confront the Council directly. We need to show them that we won't back down." Jack nodded, his heart racing with anticipation. He had been waiting for this moment. The time had come to take action, to fight for the future of the galaxy and everything they believed in. But there was a part of him that still felt uncertain. They were outnumbered, and the Council's power was enormous. What if they failed? What if the risk were too great? Lyra seemed to sense his hesitation. She placed a hand on his arm, offering a reassuring smile. "We've come this far, Jack. We've already shown the Council that we won't be controlled. And no matter what happens, we will face it together." Jack met her gaze, feeling a surge of strength rise within him. He wasn't afraid anymore. He knew that the Council's control was built on lies and fear, and it was time for that to end. With Lyra by his side, he could face anything. The next day, they set their plan into motion. Their allies, a diverse group of species from across the galaxy, were ready to fight. It wasn't just about winning battles. It was about proving to the Council that unity was the key to a better future. They would show the Council that they couldn't stop what was already happening, a movement of change that was unstoppable. As the day of the confrontation approached, Jack felt a strange calmness settle over him. This was what they had been working toward all along. The Council had underestimated them, thinking that fear and power could control the galaxy. But Jack and Lyra knew that the true strength lay in their bond, in the unity they had built. The time had come. They boarded a ship with their allies, heading toward the Council's headquarters. The journey was long, and Jack could feel the weight of what they were about to do. But he also felt a sense of purpose, a clarity he had never felt before. He wasn't just fighting for himself or for Lyra. He was fighting for every species, every world that wanted to live in peace and freedom. As they neared the Council's stronghold, Jack and Lyra stood side by side, ready for whatever awaited them. The emissary they had faced before was undoubtedly there, waiting for them, ready to enforce the Council's will. But Jack wasn't afraid. He had something more powerful than any weapon: the strength of his bond with Lyra and the hope of a better future. The ship landed outside the Council's headquarters, a towering structure made of steel and glass, surrounded by armed guards. The air was thick with tension as Jack and Lyra stepped onto the ground, their allies forming a protective circle around them. The emissary appeared, his cold eyes scanning the group before settling on Jack and Lyra. "You've come to your end," he said, his voice as cold as ever. "This rebellion will be crushed. The Council will not allow this chaos to spread." Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. "The chaos isn't what we've created, emissary. It's what the Council has built. You've used fear to control the galaxy, but that ends now. We are united, and we will not be silenced." The emissary's expression darkened. "You think you can change the galaxy? You are nothing but a small group of rebels. The Council's power is infinite. You will fail." Jack looked at Lyra, and for the first time he realized that their bond was more than just a connection. It was a movement. It was the beginning of something new. The Council had tried to divide them, But their unity was stronger than any force the council could bring. "No," Jack said, his voice firm. "We will not fail. We are the future, and the future is stronger than the past. It's time for the galaxy to move forward, together." The emissary's eyes flashed with anger, but there was something else in his gaze, a flicker of doubt. For the first time, he wasn't sure if they could be stopped. Jack and Lyra stood together, their bond stronger than ever. The galaxy was watching, and they knew that this moment would change everything. They were no longer running, they were no longer hiding. They were leading the way toward a future where unity and peace were possible. Together, they would show the galaxy that the Council's control was over. The fight for the future had just begun, and nothing could stop them now.